beautiful.
Hello, lovers of the world. This is Cinta speaking. I love listening to new music. It's really fun to find new things to obsess over, whether that's a new album, a new artist, or a new song. I'm always trying to chase that sense of joy and triumph of discovering something new to love. Now that it's the beginning of September, it is once again time to reflect and rank every album and EP that I listened to in the last month of August. As you can see, we're back on the same tier list but with new additions to rank. I want to keep all the previous things I ranked in the same list so I can compare it to everything that I rank from the future onwards. Usually before ranking, I explain my tier list rules and the grading system behind it, but to save us some time, I decided to omit them in this video. Hopefully the tier list names are still self-explanatory enough that you can follow along, but if you want to know for sure, you are welcome to watch last month's music review video because that's where I do go into deeper depth about it. My reviewing style relies solely on how I feel about the album. I don't have any musical theory background. I don't really know a lot about the technicalities of music production. So it's honestly all just vibes for me. If I know nothing else about music, I at least know how it makes me feel. I've also added the timestamps in the description to when I start talking about a specific album. So you can skip to the albums that you want to hear and not the ones that you don't want to hear, if that makes sense. But now that that's out of the way, let's get into what I listened to in August. So everything that I listened to is in more or less in the order of when I first listened to them in. In the beginning of the month, I listened to Showdown by Lee Chaeyeon. This was an EP released in 2024. Lee Chaeyeon is a K-pop female solo artist that gained popularity through the survival TV show Produce 48 and by being a member of the now disbanded girl group IZ*ONE. I followed her casually throughout the years, and it kind of bums me out that her music just doesn't click for me, and it's kind of the same case for this EP. None of the songs stood out to me in particular. Ring My Bell? Yeah. It's not really my style, but it's memorable enough with some interesting parts with a catchy hook. But to me, the entire project is a painfully average EP with some flickers of interesting moments like in the tracks Supernatural, Standing on My Own, and Dreaming. But otherwise, I'm kind of conflicted. I don't really know what Lee Chaeyeon does well that I can't find other people also doing well, and nor do I actually know what I want from her. I don't really know what I want her to do more of or what I want her to do more less of, if that makes sense. I just don't really know her at all. It's kind of sad because it's just easy to compare her with her other IZ*ONE members who have also gone into their own solo careers like Kwon Eunbi, Jo Yuri, and Yena, for example, who are, again, post-IZ*ONE members with very distinct identities who know exactly what they are going to release each comeback, and I know exactly what I will get out of them every time they release new music. And I just feel like Chaeyeon hasn't reached that stage yet, and I would really look forward to when she does. She has still has so much potential. At some point, that potential has to come through and stop being just potential. It has to be something more concrete. That is to say, I'm probably still gonna follow along her journey, and when she finally reaches that stage, I will be there to witness it. But for now, I'm unfortunately gonna have to put this in the eggs you break for your French toast. And then I listened to Ray of Light by Madonna. This is an album that was released in 1998. So Madonna is certainly a pop star that needs no introduction, but it is really sad to say that this is the first ever album that I'm listening to from her. Of course, growing up, you just hear the very classical pop songs on the radio and stuff, but this album is the first time I've ever listened to a full project from her. From the music that I've heard from her growing up, this is not really what I thought a Madonna album was gonna sound like. If I could sum up my entire review in one word, it would just be surprised, because I didn't really expect it to sound like this. So I know one song of the album before listening to the entire project, which was the track that shares a name with the album's title, Ray of Light, and I actually really like that song. I feel like it's kind of nostalgic and it signaled what pop music could be and what ended up becoming, because it was kind of like the catalyst almost. And I really like that song, and I kind of expected the rest of the album to sound like that track, kind of an avant-garde take on pop music. But after listening to the full album, I am not surprised at all that they decided to make Ray of Light to be the single, because it is the closest we get to a true pop song from the entire project in the classical sense. But it is really funny that it's literally the only song in this Madonna pop album that sounds like a pop song. Everything else is a lot more rock and alternative leaning. Following the theme of surprise, the lyrics of the songs surprisingly more poetic than I expected. But there are moments where I would listen to a track and I'd be like, is this trying too hard to be deep? Straddling that line almost of like it's sounding like Madonna's honest and earnest attempts at writing poetic lyrics, but at the same time I'm like, is she just trying too hard? And of course there are some outdated moments like the track Shanti Ashtangi, where Madonna does the classic white woman suddenly gets into yoga and new wave spirituality and suddenly she thinks she's the expert, so she writes a song about it. And when I was listening to this album for the first time and I came across this song, I was like, is she singing in Hindi? And then it only clicked for me because I have a lot of friends who are Indian. So I sent this track to one of my closest friends who is Indian, because I'm like, lol, what the F is this? And then when she replied, it was just a voice note recording of her laughing. Because she was like, what the F is this? So anyway, I thought that was really funny. I enjoyed the album. I don't know how often I'll go back to it though. My favorite songs are still Ray of Light, and I love Substitute for Love. I think that's such a beautiful song. So I'm gonna put this album in Gems Found in the Mind. And then I listened to Walk by NCT 127. This was an album released in 2024. My thoughts on the album didn't even change that much with the bomb that was dropped on August 29, but I still have to address this news first and foremost. So NCT 127, for those who don't know, is a K-pop boy group that I have been following since basically they debuted back in 2017 or something like that. I'm not a super big fan, but I definitely make sure to listen to all of their albums and projects because they usually don't disappoint. I don't follow or bias anyone in particular in the group. So while it was a complete and utter shock when the news broke, it wasn't like my entire world was shattered. Unfortunately, I feel like I've just become really, really, really desensitized to this kind of news. And I know that's not really like a good thing. Like I should be shocked every time. But like when you hear stuff like this every day, and as a woman constantly having to, deal with the emotional processing that. But anyway, if you don't know, one of the members of the group, Taeil, was fired from the group because it came to light that he had been committed and charged with sexually abusive crimes. And I don't think we officially know the details yet because the police investigations haven't released them yet. But I feel like I don't really need to know more. There's just a part of my soul that's closed off to this group almost. And of course I'm constantly thinking of the victim as, yeah, I guess this is kind of like a low-key bit of a statement where I'm just gonna say I don't think I can listen to NCT 127 music anymore, or at least for the time being. And with that, let me just pivot really quickly to my thoughts on the album. I thought it was fine. I'm kind of lukewarm on the title track. I didn't really think it was NCT's best track anyway. The album is still pretty okay. Well, it's the level of quality that I've come to expect from them over the years, but they didn't really necessarily give me anything new or unique that I haven't been able to get from their previous music, if that makes sense. But regardless, I'm gonna put this album in Gems Found in the Mind. And then I listened to Sky 100 by Parannoul. This is an album that was released in 2024. Parannoul is a South Korean shoegaze musician that I've been a really big fan of since he debuted in 2021. I was really excited about this album, and to be honest, it did take some time to adjust to because it's not really the shoegaze album that I expected. It actually leans more towards noise rock and noise pop. And as I've mentioned before, I'm very much a mood listener. I feel like I just can't pick up an album that doesn't reflect what's going on inside internally. Or if I do, I feel like I am aware that I would probably like the album more if I listened to it on a different day. And it was kind of the case for this album because I was so excited. I listened to it as soon as possible on streaming platforms when I wasn't in the mood for shoegaze or any any sound that leans into being abrasive. That alongside the fact that it's a switch in genres, I feel like my first impression of it wasn't like an immediate clicking. However, it has grown on me a lot more as time passes on, and I feel like it will definitely grow more as the year progresses. I'm gonna put this in Year Endless Material because I still really like it, and I feel like it's the kind of album, or it's the kind of project that's challenging me more to open up my musical tastes. And I feel like Something like that, a project like that deserves to be rewarded for what it's doing to my musical palette. My favorite songs are Painless and Gold River. And then I listened to Interplay by Ride. This was an album released in 2024. So Ride is an English band that formed in 1988. I have been seeing their name in lists of artists that are considered the progenitors of shoegaze, not exactly canon, but more peripheral to the music scene at the time. And when I heard that they were coming to Auckland, I bought tickets because even though I have never actually heard any of their music, I knew I was gonna have a good time regardless. But of course, I couldn't go to their show without at least listening to their most recent album once, because this is the tour that they're using to promote that album in the first place. I also managed to listen to their debut album, but I'll get to that in a second. As I tend to do, I will post my concert vlog / field notes video up whenever I have the time to edit it. It's already filmed, it just needs to be edited with the b-roll and all that jazz. But back to this album, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but it kind of seemed a lot more post-punk and standard alternative rock, especially in songs like Peace Sign, Last Frontier, but their shoegazy past does shine through in tracks like Light in a Quiet Room and Midnight Rider, and some songs even feel more new wave-y, like Monaco. I definitely feel like I was way over my head in reviewing this album. For a band with this long of a history, I had no frame of reference as to what this project means for them and their legacy and what their discography had been, but I can still confidently say that I enjoyed the album, and I'm really glad I went to the concert and experienced this live. And of course, they also played some of their older songs too, the more popular ones. I still really enjoyed it. I'll probably come back to it and listen to it some more. I'm gonna put this in Gems Found in the Mind because I feel like as much as I enjoyed it, I feel like there's only a few where I would go back to and listen to in my spare time. And then I listened to Quiz by Jeong Sewoon. This is an album released in 2024, and Jeong Sewoon is a South Korean male solo artist that gained popularity through his participation in the survival TV shows Produce 101 Season 2 and K-Pop Star. I think his journey to being a artist is kind of interesting because he got famous in K-Pop Star first because all he did was sing. He became a trainee, and then the company put him through the survival TV show. He didn't make it to the final lineup, but I guess he was just popular enough that they could actually launch his indie singer solo career. And he's gotten a lot of success for it so far. And I can see why they couldn't fit him through a typical idol boy group, because his voice doesn't really fit that image. And I am really glad that they managed to put him through this track for his career instead. It's a very nice voice, even though the songs themselves are just like typical indie pop, acoustic-y, male singer-songwriter vibes. I feel like his voice is what really makes the listening experience fun. So I'm gonna put this in French Toast just for that. And then I listened to Yo Gabba Gabba Land by Yo Gabba Gabba. This was released in 2024, and this is more of a compilation album than it is a classic standard studio recording album. So Yo Gabba Gabba is a children's TV show that I myself have actually never watched because I was either already out of that age range when the TV was available to me, or it was just not available in my country where I lived at the time, in the Philippines or in New Zealand. When I saw that MXM Tune, which is an artist I follow on Instagram, posted about her song, her involvement in the album, I decided to just give it a try. And I was genuinely surprised by how much fun I had with listening to this album. It's for a kids TV show, so clearly all of the songs are very like, wow, colors are fun, sharing is good, but the eclectic mix of artists that participate in this really makes it so colorful as what I imagine the TV show would be when you watch it. And I just think it's kind of cute. Musicians make the time to participate in an album like this, not just MXM Tune, but, Anderson .Paak and Thundercat. So super slay of them to do that. I recommend checking it out. Listening to it made me want to have a kid so that I could listen to this with them. I'm gonna put this in French Toast because it's just really cute. And it made me happy, which is what music is supposed to do. And then I listened to This Is How Tomorrow Moves by Beabadobee. This was released in 2024. Beabadobee is a Filipino-British singer-songwriter. I like a lot of her songs, but I would hesitate to call myself a fan because she's not often in my heavy rotation. I think I only have a handful of songs I would actually listen to regularly. And this album was kind of fine. I think the only songs that stood out to me were Ever Seen and Girl Song. I think Girl Song is a really well written song. When I was listening to the album and we got to this track, I felt I stopped in my tracks and I felt like I was 18 years old again, feeling small and insignificant and knowing I'll be ugly forever and trying to make peace with it. So that's just the kind of emotions that she's able to evoke with a track like this. And sadly, I feel like I haven't felt that with the rest of the other tracks, just with that one. But I don't know, I think maybe this album just isn't for me. I still would put this in Gems Found in the Mind though, because I still enjoyed the experience. And then I listened to I Have No Friends and I Must Party by James An. This is an EP released in 2024. So James An is a South Korean rapper based in Seoul. He began gaining traction through his participation in the TV series Show Me the Money. I had the honor and pleasure of seeing him perform here at Auckland when he visited my university. And rap music isn't necessarily in my heavy rotation, but I thought his lyrics were very well written and I love the narratives that he spins throughout the EP. I've become very biased since the first time I listened to this because when I got to see him perform live and give a talk to his writing process, I feel like him explaining the details of each song and the process of making that track has definitely made me like the album a lot more than if I had just listened to it on my own. And it's partly also because there are no English translations of the Korean parts of the EP. I can only understand the English part, so that's only like 40 or 50% of the EP. Knowing the context of each track obviously makes you either relate to it or like it a lot more. So really enjoyed the album. I'm gonna put this in French toast. And then I listened to Nowhere by Ride. This is an album that was released in 1990. This is Ride's debut album and the one that people know and love the most out of their entire discography. And I thought it was fine. I thought it was perfectly enjoyable, but there weren't really any songs that stood out to me. Maybe it's because I listened to this in a rush and I didn't really have the time to process it a little bit more. Maybe I just need to give it a few more spins, but it's okay. I'm gonna put this in Gems Found in the Mind. And then I listened to Buzz by Niki. This was released in 2024. So Niki is an Indonesian singer-songwriter that has been based in the United States for most of her career. I know a few of her songs, but pardon me if I'm out of the loop. I know she's had a lot of hits, most recently from the Marvel movie soundtrack with Every Summertime. And a lot of the songs I know from her have been quite R&B, so when I listened to this album, I was quite surprised at this new direction. Well, at least it's new to me for sure. You can still hear the R&B influences throughout the tracks, but there's definitely a lot of a grungier and rocker sheen over the project than I initially expected. She touches on the classic female singer-songwriter themes such as crushes, breakups, being cheated on, growing up, etc. But what I think elevates this album from a average pop rock album to a really amazing pop rock album is how creatively you're able to express the same stories but in new and unique ways. I love how personal and confessional she was in this album with songs like Heirloom Pain, which is about healing from the generational trauma and how that affects you and your future partners, as well as songs like Did You Like Her in the Morning. But I feel like my absolute favorite songs on the album are Buzz, Focus, Colossal Loss, and Take Care. I really like Buzz because even though I know it's technically about a feeling of crushing on somebody and it can be about romance, I kind of feel like it fits me at a time of my life right now where things are kind of beginning and things are ending, but it allows me to romanticize the mundanity of daily life in a way that reflects how intense I feel about each change that's coming across me. I love this album because it really feels like the soundtrack to a movie and I'm the protagonist, and I love how she makes me feel like I'm the main character. When at this time of life I feel kind of small and insignificant, I love music that makes me feel like I am as big of a character as I feel like I am on the inside, rather than feeling insignificance I do feel in reality. You know, how helpless and out of control things are in the grander scheme of things. I appreciate a project that makes me feel like, yes, it's all about me. I am the the main character, the protagonist. So because of that, I'm gonna put this in year-end list material. And then I listened to Real Life by Hazel English. This is an album that was released in 2024. Hazel English is a Australian singer-songwriter that is currently based in LA, United States. This is a dream pop, indie pop record, and I really, really enjoyed it. A lot of the tracks have actually been released as singles throughout the past 2 years, with some songs released as early as 2021 or 2022. So if you are a consistent fan of Hazel English, I feel like this record isn't really bringing anything new, but I like that everything's kind of in one place. There are some new tracks that I haven't heard of before, and it feels like a really cohesive project. I just really like the sound and the feel that she's bringing to the table. It's very airy and ethereal and nostalgic, which is kind of what I really want from my dream pop songs. My favorite songs are Real Life. I really love that one. I like Heartbreaker as well, All Dressed Up, and 9 Stories. So I really enjoyed this. I'm going to put this in your endless material. And then I listened to Death of a Rabbit by the band Your Arms Are My Cocoon. This was released in 2024. Your Arms Are My Cocoon is a Midwest emo band from Chicago, and I've never heard of this band before. I actually only saw this project on the charts at Great Europe Music, which is, I feel like lately how I've been getting a lot of music recommendations as well as getting stuff recommended to me by the Instagram algorithm. And I feel like in this situation, I'm really grateful that I decided to check out what all the fuss is about, because this has been getting a lot of really positive reviews, and I can see why. I enjoyed this a lot. This is the band's second album, but it's my first time hearing their music, and I really, really enjoyed it. I don't really know much about Midwest emo as a genre, but I feel like this is so kind of innovative almost, while still keeping true to the genre's key classic features. So I'm gonna put this in your endless material. And then I listened to Tagalog Pastry by Noel Cruz. This is an EP that was released in 2023. And Noel Cruz is a Filipino shoegaze, dream pop, indie rock artist that I honestly don't even remember how I found him. Even though I've been aware of him before and I follow him on Instagram, I think, I didn't realize that he had released a project until this month. I enjoyed this a lot. It kind of bums me out because I wish that I was able to kind of show appreciation for it when it first released, because right now he only has 9 monthly listeners on Spotify, and obviously one of them is me. So please give this EP a listen and follow him there. So I really enjoyed this EP, and I love supporting Filipino artists, especially those who are still based in the Philippines. My favorite song is Kung Sa Bagay, but I love all of the tracks in the EP. I'm gonna put this in French Toast, and I hope that he releases more music in the future so I can support him. And then I listened to Sis, Soft is Strong by Katseye. This is an EP released in 2024. So Katseye is a global pop girl group from Hybe label, and they were created through the survival TV show Dream Academy. Now, I didn't watch this TV show, but I definitely was aware of it. I've watched a lot of their performance clips on YouTube, and I follow a lot of Twitter accounts who were keeping up with the show and the members. So I feel like I know a lot about them pre-debut days, despite not having watched a lot of the show. Now, honestly, I was really looking forward to this group because I feel like they had so much potential. And I'm a huge fan of one of the members, Sophia, because she is a Filipino represent. And I think she's just so pretty. But nowadays, now that they've been promoting a lot more, I feel like I'm starting to become more partial to the other members as well. So I'm really excited. I was really excited for this EP and was bitterly disappointed. I was really appalled at the negligence of Hybe labels right now. And I don't understand why they have so much money. They could have I don't really agree necessarily with their marketing tactics right now, because they are prioritizing, social media influence and aesthetics right now, when I know they could do that as well as give their artists good music, but instead they decide to give them a very lackluster debut EP. Again, the songs are too short and the project itself is too short. Not enough meat to sink my teeth into. My favorite songs are still debut. Funnily enough, when that came out, I thought it was kind of just whatever, a bit bland, but it's grown on me a lot. I still think it would have massively improved if it had a bridge or even a rap verse to make it feel fuller. I don't understand why it's barely 2.5 minutes long. Their next single, Touch, I felt like was an adequate follow-up, but I feel like there's nothing about it as a song that really makes it different to any of the other UK garage songs that's trending right now. And the lyrics are still kind of just whatever. So even though these are the two songs that I like the most, I still think the lyrics are still too shallow. The other B-side that I like on the EP is Tonight I Might, which stood out to me as the only song that had genuine heart in it, like actually like ties into what the girls could be feeling. And even though I'm not I'm not a person who needs every song to be an exact reflection of each member. I I understand that in the field of pop music, and especially in K-pop, this authenticity war, battle, like measuring contest that K-pop fans have, I'm not really like, I don't buy into that as much. But Tonight I Might as a song still remains to be the only one where I feel like, yes, I understand the vision, I understand the story, I understand the message. Everything else, I was kind of like, okay. So I'm crossing my fingers that Hybe gives them better music because they've only just started. I feel like I can't fault them for that. And because I love the girls' voices, I think they're really, really cool. They have such cool personalities. I've been following them a lot on social media and I think they're really cool. Hybe better not mess this up for me. But for now, I'm gonna put this in the eggs you break for your French toast. And then I listened to Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. This was released in 2024 and oh my goodness. Sabrina Carpenter is for sure having her moment. I have been really excited about this because I could tell this album was going to scratch the itch I had for fun and glistening, glimmery pop music. And when it finally came out, it fulfilled exactly what I wanted it to do. Some tracks were produced by Jack Antonoff, so he wins this round. I'm keeping my eye on you. I think it really helped that I listened to Sabrina's last album, Emails I Can't Send, because listening to that album and listening to this new one feels like I felt like I was able to follow the journey into from point A to point B, and seeing that process from point A to point B in her developing her style and sound really helps me appreciate the project as it is right now. So I'm gonna go by track because I'm gonna be real. I feel like I have something positive to say about each track, and that's a good sign. To say that that's a good sign is an understatement. So I like Taste a lot. When I first heard this, I was like, this is cool and fun, but it did remind me of Deja Vu because they have similar talking points almost, except Sabrina is talking to the girl rather than Olivia talking to the boy in this particular story. And that's okay if Sabrina's like song didn't add something new and creative to it. And I think that's why I love Sabrina, because even when I listened to the last album and it wasn't for me, I could tell that she had like a vision, she had a personality, and I love that she was sticking to it because at the stage where artists will just like change a lot, try really hard to be a chameleon, I really appreciate somebody who is able to keep up with the trends and respond to what the audience wants while still like sticking to their guns. Conviction is what I want. Not necessarily honesty, that's something else. Conviction. And then the next song is Please Please Please, which was the second single off of the album. I've heard of it before, obviously. I think this is a really good follow-up to the first track. It is a really good second single. It prepped everybody who was not a diehard Sabrina Carpenter stan to understand that this pop album is not gonna just sound like espresso, because I feel like a lot of people's first introduction to Sabrina was like nonsense and feather, and if they listen to the album without knowing that Sabrina actually likes country folk, sometimes they're gonna feel a little bit bamboozled, which is what I felt the first time I listened to Emails I Can't Send. I was like, whoa, you're in your Casey Musgraves bag. Country pop, slay. I think Please 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 is such a great and strategic track because it primed people for that country twang that you get to hear throughout the rest of the project, but it also just adds something new, like a new story. In the grand scheme of things, I don't listen to Please 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 as often as I do with the other tracks in the album because I just love some of the other tracks in the album more. I still think that Please 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 was a really good single. Moving on to the next track, Good Graces. I think it's fun and catchy. I don't think I heard Sabrina do like an R&B inspired track before, but I feel like she pulls it off really well because she has a really good voice. Yeah. Sabrina Carpenter just has a really good voice. It's like the classic story of threatening your love interest to behave and to be on their best behavior. And it's a really good follow up to the previous track, Please Please Please, because Please 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 was more upbeat and funny. This is more serious. Like, she's threatening somebody. She's not playing around. And then the next song is Sharpest Tool. It's a good song and it's catchy, but after hearing Casual by Chapel Roan, most songs about situationships will just naturally pale in comparison. They just don't pack that same punch as they did. But I feel like this still does a really good job. It's still catchy, it's still fun, while still being sad, of course. And then after that is Coincidence. Again, the story that she's building step by step is really, really solid. I love storytelling. Now, I like Coincidence because it's a lot more pulled back almost, because it's just your guitar, and it also kind of reminds me of Joni Mitchell almost, because I think maybe the similar chords were used. Big Yellow Taxi Cab. Now, I don't know, don't quote me on that, but that's just how I felt. Sabrina just has a really good knack for pinpointing all these like universal feelings and situations that people find themselves in, and bringing them to life, articulating them for you when you're not able to find the right words. And of course, Sabrina's not the only person who can do that, but that's the mark of a good artist, when they can say it for you in new and interesting ways. The next song is one of my favorite songs off the album, Bedcam. Oh, it's so delicious. It makes me want to eat it. It's yummy. I bet listening to the song is better than actual sex. I've never had sex before. It's literally the peak of Sabrina Carpenter's silly but sexy writing style. It's literally perfect. It's perfect. I love it so much. And then after that is Espresso. And I'm sorry for being really different and not like other girls, but I'm actually so tired of hearing Espresso. I feel like the new disco pop sound has been really played out, and I've just been waterboarded with it for the past few years, especially when it's up against the other tracks. But it does fit into the narrative, into the story of the album, so I can't really fault it for that. And then after that is Dumb and Poetic. Has great lyrics. I love the hook. Just because you act like one doesn't make you a man. Feels like she's turning both phrases inside out to like reflect and contrast each other. But I don't personally relate to the story, so it's definitely not one of the songs that's in my heavy rotation. Same thing with Slim Pickens. This one is cute too. It has a lot of Sabrina's biting humor coming in full force, but I don't listen to this song as much. And then Juno comes. She is so crazy for this song. Like, I don't know what else to say, but it's cute. I love it. And then after that is Don't Smile, which is the best closer ever. It's just sensual and sad. Heartbreak feels good with a song like this. So to conclude, I love the album because the story is really strong and clear. Her personality is front and center. While she dabbles in different genres in each track, it always sounds like her because her writing style is so distinctively funny, coy, bold, seductive, and sugary sweet. The length of the album also feels right. It's long enough to hit all of the nuances in the roller coaster of romance, but it's short enough that it doesn't drag too much, and there's really no space to have these like empty or like filler songs, if that makes sense. So just to be clear, this is the order of how much I love the songs. So number 1 is Don't Smile. That's definitely my favorite. Close second is Bedchem. Third is Juno. Fourth is Taste. Fifth is Good Graces. Sixth is Coincidence. 7 is Sharpest Tool. 8, Please Please Please. 9, Espresso. 10, Lie to Girls. 11, Slim Pickens. And 12, Dumb and Poetic. Lie to Girls is also such a good song because it's so true. It's like, I don't want to listen to this because I just feel so seen, and it honestly, like, I cringe because I'm like, this is just me. I don't want to remind myself of the fact that I've debased myself at the altar of love. So if you don't know by now, I'm gonna put short and sweet at year-end list material. Clearly. And then I listened to Greatsouth by Greatsouth. This is an EP that was released in 2024. Greatsouth is a Maori alternative rock musician and local independent artist based here in Tamaki Makaurau. So I found this guy on Instagram because he posted a video that was promoting his new song at the train station in my city, specifically the platform that I use to go home. So I was like, yeah. Fellow South Aucklander. Yup, exactly. So this is his debut self-titled EP, and I listened to it. I thought it was a very promising project, and I'm looking forward to hear more of his music. It definitely feels like a debut EP. I still really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of potential there. My favorite songs are Pop Star in the Manics and the first track, Please. And then I listened to Just Being Me by Dionne Warwick. This was released in 1973. Dionne Warwick is a soul singer who has released 40 studio albums from 1963 to 2019. I've never heard of her before listening to this album. I just decided to pick this one to broaden my musical horizons. I don't remember the logic of why I chose this out of the 40 that she has released over her lifetime. I'm pretty lukewarm on this record. Her voice is great and she's definitely a very charismatic singer, but maybe the songs themselves were just not catchy or memorable enough to stick with me. I'm happy to revisit this in the future, but for now, I think I'm just gonna put this in the most album ever. Fun fact, I found out after listening to the album that she's actually related to Whitney Houston. That's so crazy. I guess talent runs in the family. And then I listened to Imaginal Disc by Magdalena Bay. This was released in 2024. Magdalena Bay is a duo from the United States consisting of Micah Tenenbaum and Matthew Lennon. While they've been active for nearly a decade, this is the first album I'm hearing from them. They have been getting a lot of praise for this recent release, so I decided to check them out. I was really impressed and I really enjoyed the listening experience, but I'm not obsessed with this the same way that other people have been. I can see it growing on me over time though, but for now, I'll just put this in French toast. And then I listened to Romance by Fontaine DC. This is an album that was released in 2024. So Fontaine DC is a band that I've been sort of hearing about lately because they've been playing a few festivals and I've kind of just seen their name in the lineups. This is their second album. I don't really know a lot about them, honestly, just that everybody has been really fawning over this recent release, so I thought I'd give this album a shot. And I can see why people like it, and I did enjoy listening to the album, but I wouldn't necessarily praise it in the same way that everybody has been praising it. I can see the album growing on me over time, but for now, I'll just put this in French toast. My favorite songs are Desire, Sundowner, and Favorite. And that's all I listened to this month. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. I'd love to hear from you guys what your most recent favorite musical projects were in the comment section. And if you want to see more of my work, you are welcome to subscribe. My social media links are down in the description alongside my Patreon and Coffee pages if you want to support my work. Otherwise, I can't wait to share my love with you again next time. I'll see you soon! Don't smile because it happened, baby. Cry because it's over.